This is the 7th class on Riemann integration. In the last class, we ended with the exercise that if a function is unbounded, then it cannot be Riemann integrable. A contrapositive statement of this exercise gives us a necessary condition for a function to be Riemann integrable, that it must be bounded. Now, of course, this condition is only necessary and not sufficient, because we have seen in the earlier class that Dirichlet function poses as a counterexample of this fact, because it is bounded but yet not Riemann integrable. Now, Riemann could not give a good answer to his own question for a necessary and sufficient condition for a function to be Riemann integrable in his entire lifetime. Although he showed that a Riemann integrable function cannot be unbounded with a few more results. Being a German, he did all his work in his native language, of course. A French mathematician, Darboux, wanted to translate his work. He was quite puzzled during this process. Most problematic was the choice of arbitrary tags in a partition. It was definitely not a term to work with. So he tried to simplify Riemann's concept. So this is the function, and this function I'm considering over a sub-interval. Okay, I'm not considering this one over the entire AB. No, I'm considering this one over a sub-interval, xr-1 to xr. Darboux's main objective was to get rid of those tags. Now Riemann said that you can take any tag in between. So any point you can erect your rectangle as. So Darboux said, wait, why do we need to take any arbitrary tag in between when we can have extreme ones, the smallest one with the smallest height and the biggest one with the biggest height? So these two are extreme things. So if you choose any tag in between, so the rectangle will be there in the middle. Now the point is, we are trying to approximate this area by the rectangle process. Now so these two, the least one and the highest one, contains the most amount of error. You see in this one over here, this middle line is a rectangle at a particular tag, is right. So this one, whatever error it has, so it does not have this much area and it does not have this much area. So this is the error this tag rectangle is having. Now look at this one. Look at the smaller one, the down one. The down one has how much error? This much error. And the bigger one, the biggest one, has this much error. So the error component is of course the biggest with the extreme one. This one, the smallest one, and the highest one. Now, so the Darboux is thinking, if we can make both of these converge to something by shrinking the partitions, then that could mean something. Now, so what we do, we take supremum and infimum of the function. This is my infimum of the function in the subinterval xr-1 to xr, and this is my supremum of the function in the subinterval xr-1 to xr. Now, a point comes that if you want to take supremum and infimum, the function needs to be bounded. Okay, so Riemann started with any kind of function because he was trying to understand what those engineers were doing for so many centuries. So Riemann's premise was the class of every function. Now, when after Riemann set off his mathematical formulation and showed that an unbounded function cannot be Riemann integrable, now Darboux is translating Riemann's work and is trying to, in the process of translation, he is also trying to simplify his process, simplify his results. So here now Darboux already knows that, because Riemann already proved that an unbounded function cannot be Riemann integrable. So Darboux already knows that we can keep the unbounded functions away from our consideration. So Darboux is talking about only bounded functions. So there you can talk about so then you can talk about infimum and supremum of the function. Now here you see infimum over here is attained at this point for this function, but the supremum is not attained at any point. So at this point, the functional value is this one. Okay, this is a arrow head here. So this means this function is going, this branch of the function is going over here, but does not touch this point. So the supremum is appearing over here, but it is not attained at any point. So that is why I chose deliberately a discontinuous function. We will talk about the infimum and the supremum, and we do not even care that they are not even attained at a particular point. So we are free of the tags. So now you see every subinterval xr minus 1 to xr, we have small mr is the infimum of the function in the subinterval, capital Mr is the supremum of the function in the subinterval. So whatever tag you choose in the subinterval, you are going to end up between this height and this height. The functional value at that tag is going to end up between this height and this height, the infimum of the function in the subinterval and the supremum of the function in the subinterval. So hence in every Rf subinterval, see what is happening. Now I multiply with the length of the subinterval to each side. Then if I add them up, this one is less than this one, this quantity, and less than this one. This is simple. What is this quantity? This quantity is, here you see the smallest rectangle you see. This rectangle has the area, this small mr, this is the height, this is the infimum of the function in the subinterval x r minus 1 to xr. So this is the height of the rectangle, and this is the length of the rectangle xr minus xr minus 1. So the area is small mr into xr minus xr minus 1. This is the area of the smallest rectangle in the Rf subinterval. Now in the another subinterval, in the next subinterval, you choose the smallest area. Area of the smallest rectangle. In the next subinterval, you choose the area of the smallest rectangle. So if you add them up, you will get this quantity in the left. That summation of all the smallest rectangles in each of the subintervals. Similarly, this one is the summation of the biggest triangles. So now in the middle, you see this is the Riemann sum. So therefore, this is SP bar F with the partition x1, x0 to xn and the tag xi r in the middle. And this one let us call LPF, and this one let us call UPF, this side. And this thing holds for any choice of set of tags in the partition P, x0, x1 up to xn. SP bar F is bigger than this quantity LPF and is smaller than this quantity UPF. I'm calling this quantity UPF and this quantity LPF. So let us define this thing first. These two things are important. Now this side it is called upper Darboux sum. So f is a bounded function. Remember, without boundedness assumption, this doesn't make sense. You cannot take supremum. So f is a bounded function and P is any partition of AB. Then the upper Darboux sum, or simply the upper sum of f with respect to the partition P, of course, is the quantity. This is the quantity r maximum 1 to n mr times xr minus xr minus 1. This is the quantity where capital Mr is the supremum of the function in the Rx subinterval. And the next one is of course the lower Darboux sum, the left hand side. This part is my lower Darboux sum. Fine, no problem in there. Same thing as well. Now Darboux's idea is to make both the upper sum and the lower sum converge to the same limit by refining the partitions. So understand what Darboux is trying to do. He is saying that, okay, so Riemann is claiming that this area, this middle one with the tag, the sum of these area, they converge to somewhere. They converge to the actual area. So why don't we be a little more wishful and try to prove that the maximum area is converging and the minimum area is converging to the same limit. In that case, the middle area has nowhere else to go but to converge to the same limit. So that is what he is doing. Now he is trying to shrink the partition. But Riemann did using the norm, he is shrinking the partition using what is called a refinement of a partition. Okay, Darboux introduced this thing, refinement of a partition. Now, what is a refinement of a partition? Suppose P is a partition, already existing partition. Now, if you break up P in some more points, then what you get is a refinement partition of the existing partition P. A partition Q is called a refinement of P if P is a proper subset of Q. That is, Q is obtained by adjoining finitely many more points to P. For example, let P is equals to 0, 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4, comma 1 will definitely be here. So this be a partition of 0, 1. Then Q is equals to, I have adjoined the point 1/3 in the middle. I have adjoined the point 2/3 in the middle. That is called a refinement of the partition. This is simply subdividing the existing partition into more subdivisions. Okay, that is the refinement. We now certainly guess that refining a partition will make the upper sum and the lower sum closer to the actual area. That is, after a refinement, upper sums will decrease, whereas lower sums will increase. Now, always remember this thing, that upper sums over here, upper sum, this is my upper sum, is always bigger than the actual area. Lower sums are always smaller than the actual area. If we are trying to make them converge to some common point, then we need to decrease the actual upper sum, we need to increase the lower sums. Now over here, you see this one, the darker ones, these ones are lower sums. This is the infimum of the function at the in this subinterval x0 to x1. This is the infimum of the subinterval in this this is the infimum of the function in the subinterval x1 to x2, and so on. So the darker, the brown shaded rectangles are all lower sum. So this total area is your lower sum, and this green shaded, light shaded rectangle gives you the upper sum. So because you see this rectangle is erected at the highest height in the subinterval. This is the highest height in the subinterval. So this rectangle is erected with the highest height. In this subinterval, this rectangle is erected with the highest height of the subinterval. So this is the highest height, and this is erected with this highest height, and so on in each of the subintervals. So the green ones, the green shaded ones, that means the entire one from here, from the very bottom to this one. This is your UPF, upper sum. How much you are making error. While you are measuring from the bottom, you are making this much error in the first subinterval. You are making this much error in the second subinterval. You are making this much error in the third subinterval. You are making this much error in the fourth subinterval, this much in the fifth subinterval. While measuring from the top, you are making this much extra, adding this much extra in your calculation, this much extra in your calculation, this much in your extra, this much extra, and this much extra. So this much is your error in the measuring from the top, and this one is measuring from the bottom. So now see what happens if I refine this partition. I already have these points over here. Now I introduce points in the middle. In the original partition, this is the error, amount of error while measuring from the below. Now in the refined partition, you see from this was the error earlier, and from that error this much portion has already been counted. We are only left with the error over here, this small greenish bluish one, and here this small bluish one. So over here, this much was our entire error in the first subinterval while measuring from the below by the smaller subintervals. And if I introduce a point, point of refinement, then I am getting this much area already counted. So my error lessens to this one and this one. Similarly, while measuring from the top, this was my error in the first subinterval. This much we added extra. Now here you see, here we are adding this much extra and this much extra. This much extra part is not being added to the sum. So my error is lessened. Error has reduced to this amount and this area amount. So by refining partitions, upper sums decrease, lower sums increase. So what we saw here is actually an intuitive approach. Now this one is by proper analytic approach. You prove this one. If Q is a refinement of P, then lower sum increases. See, this is the lower sum of Q. So lower sum of Q is greater than or equal to lower sum of P. Lower sum of Q is definitely smaller than the upper sum of Q. Then the upper sum of Q, now you see upper sum of Q has reduced from the upper sum of P. Okay, so lower sum, Q is a refinement. So lower sum of Q has increased. Upper sum of Q of the refinement has decreased. Okay, so the proof of this, without loss of generality, we may assume that Q has only one additional point adjoint to P. For the rest of the proof, please refer to this lemma from the book MAPA. Okay, I want you to go through this one by yourself.